Hello, welcome to American Hammers TV. This is a special Sunday interview episode. We've been doing quite a few of these over the last few months, bringing them back. We've interviewed, Kenny Brown, Ian Bishop, and Jack Collison, Matt Jarvis, briefly Zavon Hines, but we'll try to get him back on. But no, today we have, one of my favorite players from my era of watching the club, since I didn't start watching the club until the 2010-11 season. Halfway through my first full season watching the club, the gentleman that we have on today was a major part in one of the best seasons I can remember for West Ham personally, and I think Lee roughly the same. So
absolutely, yeah.
Lee's my co-host as usual when we do these interviews, and I love the backdrop today. You've been looking the new backdrop you have. I don't know if it's a new camera or a new laptop or whatever, but it's nice and clear and light.
I'm all set up down here. I used to go up to my attic to do these shows, but my computer doesn't work anymore up there. And I've got like all these monitors down here and stuff. I've got a brand new chair I just put together yesterday. So this is the new digs. It's a little eclectic in the background. My wife's degree from Oxford is there on the wall. So to prove that we have some English heritage in the house, but it's
It's funny enough. Isn't that where you're from, Matt?
Yeah, that's where I live now. I live about 15 minutes from Oxford. Yeah.
I've been there. It's beautiful. Love it.
Yeah.
She has a master's from Oxford, right on the wall. So there you go. Feel right at home.
So real quick, I just got to mention we have been selling some stuff, which is great. I really appreciate it on AmericanHammers.net. ahtv.threadless.com is the actual shop link where we have different West Ham related designs, as well as logos of supporters groups of West Ham from all over the world, like Ghana Hammers, France Hammers, all the way, all over the United States as well, like Arkansas Hammers, Boston Hammers, etc., Bayou Ironworks, and so on. If you want to go in there today, is the last day for free shipping. That's worldwide as well, the free shipping. So just use the code FREESHIP 520 in all caps, and you get free shipping on your order. And there's lots of cool stuff, and a lot of other people have been buying stuff, which is really nice. And I can't wait. Listen, if you buy something from the shop, please take a picture of it, or take a picture of yourself wearing it and send it over to us on social media. We do answer all of our messages all over social media. We'd love to see it. So we've been seeing a lot of people buying the stuff, but we haven't seen any pictures of you wearing it. So please send us some photos. The chat room's already picking up pretty good. I do see Matt Howard, Forever Blowing Bubbles, Robert Agresto, Hammers Poles. Thank you for popping in, Charlie Boy, and Ken, our good friend Ken's in there as well.
Our buddy Ken, yep, and lives not far from us actually. Matt, Ken's our neighbor up in New Hampshire. So
exactly. So if you have any questions from Matt, please feel free to post it, and I will, make sure it hasn't been something we've already asked or whatever, and then we'll pull it up on the screen so Matt can read it, and we'll get his answers. But we do have questions of our own. So, we wanted to discuss, I guess it's really, really weird for me because you had just signed like a long-term contract with Bolton before you were even linked with the club, with West Ham. So I guess you signed with them in 2007, right? Or something around there, the 2007-8 season. And then July-ish, I guess the summer of 2009, you just signed a long-term deal with them. But then the next season, so how did that all come about? West Ham,
I think so the first thing was that Bolton at the time, the first I heard of it, we were actually in Florida on a pre-season trip. I was with Bolton at the time, and I was actually playing golf one afternoon because we had the afternoon off, and my phone went and said that basically West Ham have put a bid in for you. Okay. Hiya, mate. You okay?
It's my 9-year-old son, Isaac. I'm sorry to do this coming in, but he's got his shirt on. Look at this.
Love the t-shirt. Brilliant. Okay, come back. Yeah. So I had a phone call and alerted me that West Ham were interested, and I went back to the hotel that evening and sat down with the then manager and the late Phil Gartside, who was the chairman at Bolton. And they basically said, yeah, Matt, I think that if it's an opportunity you want to take, then go and look at it. So I spoke to Sam, and probably I would say within 12 hours was on a flight back to the UK. Everything was pretty straightforward. wasn't an issue. I was at an age where I'm from the south of England, and I wanted to get closer to home.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to be probably an hour and a half away from family in terms of parents and grandparents. So at the time it fitted, and I liked, Sam didn't have to sell the football club to me. I played against West Ham many times and loved the stadium. Probably was slightly naive. I didn't realise how well supported the football club was and still is. And yeah, the opportunity to, I dropped down a division, but the opportunity to get promoted was one that I didn't want to turn down. And fortunately, it was an exceptional decision because, albeit we went about it the hard way, we managed to get promoted that season.
Now, but going into that though, so going into that season, you all had that expectation that you knew that you were going up? Like,
no, to say we knew we were going up, no, would be wrong. But that was what I would say is that was the aim in the outset, from the outset. The reason I say that is because now I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. We had the best squad. Financially, we had a huge budget. We had goal scorers at the top of the pitch. We had a good goalkeeper. We had some exceptional defenders, really good midfielders. So, but what we did was we weren't consistent enough within that season. So we ended up finishing third. And then the extra pressure of the playoffs. Fortunately, we managed to get past Cardiff relatively easily, and then obviously won the final. Probably shouldn't have won the final, if I'm honest. Blackpool were better than us, but no, the expectation that season was to get promoted. So the fact that we didn't do it automatically, when probably with the team and the group of players we should have, then it was imperative for everybody at the club and the fans that we got promoted via the playoffs.
But you know, Matt, they say that the best way to get promoted is to get promoted automatically, but the most exciting way is to do it via the playoffs. Take us a little bit through, if you would. We'll get to some chat room questions too. Take us a little bit through, if you would, what the atmosphere was leading up to the playoffs, and especially the playoff final, which is probably my best day as a West Ham fan. Was that playoff final? What were the nerves, and what was at stake on that day?
I think when the season finished, I think the instant reaction was disappointment because we hadn't finished in the top two.
And it came right down to the end.
Therefore, it
came right down to the end.
But it was that was the problem. It was disappointing. So, but then what you've got to do is pick yourselves up as an individual, as a group of players, to go into the semi-final, which pretty much is the next week, and then you play again. I think we played on a Thursday and maybe a Saturday or a Sunday, if memory serves me correctly. I'm not sure, but we played away and managed to beat Cardiff and then blew them away at home. So our confidence was really high going into the Blackpool game. But the atmosphere, I remember, was that would have been the second time I played at Wembley. The first time, unfortunately, I think might have been the season before where we got beat in the FA Cup semi-final, and that was really disappointing. So again, to walk out and to see half of that stadium in claret and blue, and to listen to the national anthem and to go through obviously all of the pre-game rituals. It's an iconic stadium. But I just remember, I suppose, was I nervous? No, I think that in the first 4 or 5 minutes, I remember they played a ball over the top and I tried to chest it back to Robert Green, who's in goal, and they nearly scored. And if there was ever a wake-up call for me, that was it, right? And that was the wake-up call I needed, and I think we all did. But no, we were fortunate that day because Blackpool were a better team, but fortunately we managed to get over the line and obviously get ourselves.
Yeah, it was a very frustrating
that trophy.
Frustrating to watch, I guess you'd say, as a supporter, but that led to the ending. I mean, that led to the Vazte goal, which when that went in, the euphoria and just the thought that we've won this now, we got this, and we're getting promoted. As a supporter, I think it was probably the best feeling, and it wouldn't have happened like that. It wouldn't have felt like that if we were already winning 3-0. Yeah. If we were already winning, 2-0 or dominating the match the whole time. But the way the match played out, and then to have that, that finish.
When Vaz scored, I just remember taking off in the other direction and running and going wild. And just, but you know what? If there was one feeling that summed up the day for me, it was relief, because we were favourites to win the league and we didn't. We finished obviously third, and then we were favourites to win the playoffs, and we managed to get ourselves over the line. And like I said to you before, the expectation was to get promoted that season. So yeah, it was joy, but the overriding feeling for me was just relief sat in the dressing room afterwards. And I'd never had that before.
Yeah. Jack Collison said the same thing when we had him on. He pretty much said it was relief more than anything else.
Brilliant day.
Yeah, definitely.
I was relieved.
Did you fear the wrath of Big Sam if you had lost that match?
I think that Sam. So Sam quite often has this sort of persona from people that don't know him about, because he's quite a big man and he's very forthright with his opinions. But what I will say is that I probably, in the whole time that I played for him 3 years, probably only saw him get angry once or twice.
Really?
Never. Yeah, no, he never. He wasn't a huge shouter. I think what you see on the sidelines sometimes is maybe a reflection of what's going on in the football game, and maybe it comes out in a different way. But behind closed doors in the dressing room, no, he wasn't overly loud. I've played for managers that have shouted at me more than him, put it that way.
Yeah, Jack had also said, off the air with us that, but I mean, I don't think he'll care if we say this, but he said that the one time that he remembers Sam getting really upset, I guess, was over Joey O'Brien. Yeah, he lit him up real good one day, and but he didn't really do it that often.
No, he didn't. And Sam, I think the best managers I've played for are masters at that. So you sense, or they sense as and when maybe is the right time to go after somebody. But no, but I will be honest. Sam was quite mild in dressing rooms. I think part of the reason that was the case is because we had such a strong leadership group of players. Yeah. And a lot of the time, he didn't need to say anything because it had already been said.
Yeah.
And when you look, I suppose, when I look at the best teams that I've played in, they've probably got the strongest group of leaders within there that would basically say it before it needed to be said by a manager.
Yeah. Just real quick, we're going to switch over to the some fan questions here. But before we do, I just want to mention that what astonishes me about looking back at your stats anyway on your career was that season, that championship season, you had a whopping 10 assists. I mean, which you don't really think about it. But on top of the 10 assists you had in the regular season, you did assist on Carlton Cole's goal in the final as well, which again, people usually think of the goals, not the assists as much.
Yeah, I did. I was injured for a period of that season as well, which I really struggled with, because I think I'd had a couple of small injuries, but nothing that I couldn't shake off, and I struggled with injuries. Probably I was getting slightly older and probably had to look after my body a bit better and get to know it better, which I did. But no, the assist, it always helps when you take the set plays. So, and if you can stick them on one of the boys' heads, and let's be honest, when you got James Tompkins, you got Kevin Nolan, you got Carlton Cole. Who else do we have? You've got people like George McCartney. If you can put it on anywhere near them, they're going to go and head it in or smash it in. So my job was the easy part. They had to score.
And we got a Tompkins reference out of you, Matt. That means everybody in the chat room
they got a drink in the chat.
Everybody in the chat room takes a drink because Tompkins is Tim's favorite player. So anytime he mentions Tompkins, we So everybody in the chat room appreciates that one.
Yeah, I'll just there you go. Oh, it's right behind me. Yep, the Tompkins kit.
There it is.
Yeah, so that's it's just an ongoing running joke that everybody has to drink.
What have you got to drink though?
Just my coffee.
I don't have anything.
Just your coffee.
But everybody else can do it.
It's slightly earlier there.
I got some screen cleaner. I got some screen cleaner for my computer screen, so I'm probably going to skip that. That's about the only liquid I have up here.
So the first question we can bring up here is actually from Tebow. There's a couple that he asked as well that I'm going to hold off on because they're in the rapid fire question. So if I don't pull up a question, it's either A, been already asked, or B, we have it planned for the rapid fire at the end. So don't feel like I'm ignoring you. But yeah, so I guess the first one is this. It's do you wish that you played for West Ham earlier in your career?
Probably not. And the reason for that is because I probably wouldn't have arrived at West Ham had I have not been through the experiences that I had. And I think that when I arrived at West Ham, we had a clear goal, and I spoke about this earlier. The clear goal was to get promoted, and it was probably the only time I've really played with huge expectation. And up to that point, I think I was 30 when I signed. So I'd started playing at 17. So for 13 years, we'd never really had expectation. I'd played for teams before where we'd always exceeded those expectations. So either won the league or managed to stay up with a small budget in the Premier League, or finished 7th or 8th in the Premier League when you expected to finish in the bottom 3. But at West Ham, we were fully expected to stay up, to win the league. And yeah, it was, but not earlier, no, because I loved my time before I went to West Ham. So, but I also equally enjoyed my 3 years at West Ham.
Yeah, you definitely. So for those who don't know, they only know your time at West Ham. You started your career at Luton Town, and then you went off to Portsmouth for a decent fee at the time. Nothing astronomical, but I mean, it was good. And you had a great time at Portsmouth, and then you went on to Bolton, obviously. Yeah, and then you had everywhere you went, you did well. So
do you know, all I used to do was I would try as hard as I possibly could and try and work harder than everybody else and make myself selectable.
I think it showed.
Seemed to work.
I think it showed, and I think people saw that in you too, because you didn't go out there. You weren't necessarily. You looked like you were a man on a mission most of the time. I mean, you weren't necessarily smiling or too elated, unless obviously you did something great and your team scored a goal, and there's there's photographs or video of you getting excited. But for the most part, you were like dialed in. And that's what people saw that.
Yeah, my wife always used to say to me, "Why are you so angry on a football pitch when you're not angry at home or anything?" And the only way I can describe it is it's work mode, and I suppose you used to talk a lot about what you put a mask on and what mask are you wearing for any specific time or any game, and I used to be quite an angry footballer, and probably far more aggressive than I am in normal day life. I mean, I think if you tried to chase me, I'd run as fast as I could the other way off of a football pitch, but I might confront you on it, which is strange, really, which is odd. But no, all I wanted to do was give everything I've got. And do you know why? Because whenever I used to go and watch a game, now it can be any sport. It could be American football, it could be baseball, or it could be our football. I think all you want to see as fans is your players trying their best, and if they make a mistake, I think you'll accept that. But maybe the players that don't show 100% effort all of the time, you might have a crossword to say about them. So that was all I ever tried to do in my career. If I'm honest, I did that from the moment I made my debut at 17 to playing my last game.
And that's probably why you got over so well at West Ham, because that's all we ask for. I mean, we say that all the time.
I was going to say, that's, Matt, that's something we always talk about as West Ham fans is you don't have to be, no matter who you're talking about, any player doesn't have to be the best player, just has to put out effort all the time. And even some of the best players who don't put out the effort, they're never really loved. It's about showing up for the badge. Did you find that to be the case with West Ham fans? I mean, was that the impression that you got? Do you think what we say about ourselves is true?
Yeah, I was greatly received by the West Ham fans, and it's probably in terms of fan numbers. I remember when I joined, and I didn't obviously know a huge amount about West Ham fans. Somebody came up to me and said, "Chelsea have got all the money, but West Ham have got all the fans." And I, right?
That's awesome.
And I kind of it wasn't probably until sort of the 4th or 5th game at Upton Park when every single game that season was sold out, and we could be playing against a team that obviously would be at the bottom of the table for argument's sake, but we'd still fill the stadium, and every week if we were playing away from home, the fans would travel in their thousands. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed my time there, and I was well received, and I think that, I mean, ironically, I haven't really been back because it hasn't sort of my path and West Ham's path is not really crossed a huge amount since. But no, I did like, and I hope the West Ham fans took to me. I mean, I really took to them.
I do. Yeah, I think so.
Especially you didn't leave on bad terms as well. It wasn't one of those Marco Arnautovic situations. You're holding out for a China deal or something, or. Yeah, anyway, no. It's funny. You just answered the next question that I was going to pull up, so I'll pull it up anyway. But basically, Hammers Polls are good friends over there on Twitter that create Hammers Polls for people to enjoy. Has Matt ever been invited back by the club or by the owners?
I have been invited back. I just haven't been able to make it because I've either been playing when the game's been on or I've been working the last season. So I will get back there. It's just trying to to make sure that I can fit it in with life. And you guys will know how busy schedules are at times. And just trying to make sure you fit everything in. But yeah, I mean, put it this way, it's always one of the first results to look out for at the weekend. I will say that much.
Yeah. Nice. It's funny. Someone did mention that we did have Matt Jarvis on recently, and he was saying the same thing about he didn't realize how big the club was until he got here.
Yeah, I didn't. I was quite naive, I think. And then when I got there, and first game was a pre-season game actually, away at a club called Dagenham and Redbridge, which isn't far from West Ham, and about 4,000 or 5,000 West Ham fans there. I was singing my name. I couldn't believe it. It's crazy. It was a pre-season game away. Ridiculous. Yeah. And I kind of thought, oh, okay. I might have bitten off quite a bit here. Let's hope that I can live up to expectation. But no, it was brilliant.
Well, the success of the club doesn't necessarily match the fan support. I think that's part of it, right?
Yeah. You don't think it goes back to the Chelsea thing, doesn't it? Chelsea got all the money, but West Ham have all the fans.
Right. It does. Yeah, it's true.
Here's another good question. So, what is your favorite moment, I guess, as a West Ham supporter? Sorry, West Ham player. What's your favorite?
What's my favorite moment? Probably has to be the promotion, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Has to be the culmination of 12 months hard work and everything aligning at the right time in that 87th minute at Wembley. 100% has to be it. I mean, it was just. Well, the only reason I say that is because Jack and I, we're good mates and we're good friends, and I've got a picture on my phone, and probably 5 or 6 of us in there, and we're just in the change room after the game, and we've all got big smiles on our faces. But when you actually look at us, we just all look so drained. Right? We look as if you look so drained, so mentally and physically. Even your body position. So normally your body language would always be, and you'd sit up straight. I just look at the picture, and we've all got a beer in our hand. I'm just slouching because we've achieved what we wanted to do. Yeah. And that moment will stay with me forever. And it was nice. My family were there as well at Wembley, and that was great to be able to share it with them. And fortunately, the children were old enough now, especially my son, that he remembers that day as well. So
that was
fantastic memory.
Let me ask you one quick thing, Matt. Sorry, before we get back to the questions from the chat room. So, you played in the Premiership for West Ham, you played in the Championship, you played in the Premiership for other clubs too. The Championship's a grind. I mean, what are the biggest differences between Championship and Premiership in terms of the toll it takes on you as a player?
So, first of all, it's the number of games. So you play 38 games in a regular season in the Premier League. It's 46 in the Championship. You tend to play a lot more. You'll play on a Saturday and then a Tuesday. So the recovery time you have is a lot shorter, which means that obviously the recovery process needs to be spot on. One thing I found,
you still have the cups as well. Yeah,
you're still playing.
So and you obviously come in at a slightly earlier round in the Championship, so you'll have at least one more game. But the biggest difference I think is that, so technically there's a slight difference, but this might be something you hadn't thought about, but the players in the Championship tend to be, in terms of distances covered, slightly higher than the Premier League. And you're expected to do that for 46 games a season, as opposed to 38 in the Premier League. The big difference, I think, will be maybe some of the teams that you play. If you're a big club, like we were at the time in the Championship, we were at times, without a shadow of a doubt, smaller teams cup finals. So therefore they would raise their game against you, and you always had to be on your mettle. But do you know what? I absolutely adored playing in the Championship and loved it. I mean, I was really lucky. I got promoted from that league 3 times. I mean, I won the league twice and got promoted with West Ham through the playoffs. The playoffs is a when you look back on it and you retire, the playoffs is a far better way to get promoted. But when you're in it, it's horrific. Because of the pressure.
3 more games, right? End of a long season, 3 more games. Yeah. And then it's all
intensity. And everybody's watching that game, especially the Championship final. I mean, that's
Don't they say? I think it's one of the richest games in football.
It's the richest game in football, because of the money you get when you get promoted.
Because of the money that's on offer to get to the Premier League. So it's a good game. In terms of that game was brilliant, but
So before we get into any more of the fan questions, I want to discuss, so you guys got promoted, and then you're heading into, your first season back in the Premier League, or West Ham is anyway.
Yeah.
And you go ahead and the third game in, you get a goal and assist against Fulham, which means now that you've won you've won 2 out of your first 3 matches, and your first season back. So you got 2 wins in your first 3 matches back. So on top of like the confidence of getting promoted and then winning your first or 2 out of your first 3 matches, I mean, what's the atmosphere like around the club at that point?
I think what you got to remember is when you look at the squad that we had in the Championship, every single one of those players had played in the Premier League. Right. So when we went up to the Premier League, it wasn't a huge change for the players that we had, and all Sam had to do was add a few players to that. Yeah. So I'm sure if you went through that whole team that finished the game against Blackpool, every single one of those would have played in the Premier League. So for us, there was never a case of getting carried away. I remember the Fulham goal. I think it was a half volley from just outside the box. I remember that. Don't remember the assist, but thank you.
Yeah.
But no, to win the first two out of 3 games, obviously for our first season back in the Premier League. But what you've also got to remember is that the fans always backed us, and the reason they backed us in the time that I was there is because prior to me joining, there'd been some pretty tough times at the football club.
Yeah.
Yes. Financially and everything like that. And all the football fans wanted was a team on a Saturday or a Tuesday or whatever that day may be, that would go out and be, a reflection of them, because that's ultimately what the fans want, don't they? Success at times, obviously it's great. I'm a football fan. I'd love to see my team win, but that's not always going to happen. But you want to see your team go out and actually go and put in a performance. And I think that's what we did. And it helps, doesn't it, with the momentum of obviously getting promoted and then winning the first 2 out of 3 games. And I think, did we finish in the top half that season? I'm not sure. Did we finish just outside the top half? But I think we had a relative.
I think it was 10th.
Well, there you go.
I think it was 10th. Yeah.
So, so that was a really successful season for us.
Very.
But we had some exceptional players, which helps.
Well, one of the better seasons, actually, one of the better seasons West Ham have had in the Premier League ever. To finish 10th is actually a very high finish for us. Yeah.
Especially in the last 10 years. I think we finished 10th like twice and finished 7th once, and that was the last season of the Bowen. But so all right, and then obviously the 13-14 season didn't necessarily start that well, and that was your last season with the club. But you did have a month in February where you won every single match, but then you lost 3, and then you won 2, and then you lost 4 in a row. So does that kind of sum up the 13-14 season for you?
Yeah, we just weren't consistent enough that season to really put a string of results together. So, I mean, personally, I was in and out of the team, and it took me a long time that season to really cement my position in the team, and some tough conversations with Sam, the manager, and I ended up, I think Sam probably made at the time the decision. And he asked me to switch from playing in a wide position or left back to playing in midfield, so on the left-hand side of the 3. And at the time, probably I wasn't particularly keen on the idea. But what it did do is that it allowed me, because I was never a quick player, but I was always an endurance player, and it allowed me to still be able to use my natural assets. But also it broadened my outlook on the game, and 100% it gave me far more longevity the older I got after I left West Ham. 100%, and it changed my outlook on the game. So that was I remember the conversation, and it wasn't, as I say, it wasn't something that I was particularly happy to do. But then when he sold it to me and we sat down and spoke about it and looked at a lot of videos of what he wanted from me, it was. I loved it. It was brilliant. And then I managed to get back in the team in a midfield 3. I think it was myself, Kevin Nolan, and Mark Noble playing in there, I think.
Yeah. That was just, I'm just trying to think back. I mean, that was, again, there was a lot of highs that season, though, too. Like winning 4 matches straight I mean, especially for a club like us, it doesn't matter if we lost the next 10. I mean, to win 4 in a row was almost unheard of. So that month of February was something else. But anyway, looking back on even Sam's tenure with the club, I mean, a lot of us now look back on regret that we were like, get out, because that was probably the most or the best time we had as supporters was those Allardyce years.
Best result,
recent memory anyway.
Yeah, best result. I mean, other than the Payet season, which we all know about,
which I think
2016, which was
created by Allardyce, though. Like
I kind of do too.
That's my unpopular opinion. But all right, so let's see if there's any more fan questions in here. I know there's a bunch. I'm just trying to sift through these because I know there's a few that have already been.
We've got to go back. We've got to go back and look at them. So
I'm scrolling. Sorry. Was Big? All right, I'll just pull it up so you can see it. So was Big Sam different from other managers that you played under in terms of man management and training?
He was a master of man management. He was very good at knowing what each specific individual player wanted. But what Sam was really good at is that it wasn't just you, the footballer, he was interested in. So he would make a point of actually really caring, finding out about your kids, finding out about your wife, making sure that she had everything she needed, making sure that your kids were okay. And that ultimately gave me a sense of, well, he cares about me. So not that I needed it, but I was then quite happy to go out on the pitch and metaphorically die for him, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
what did you think? What did you think of the trouble he got into, Matt, when he was hired as England manager, and then he subsequently resigned over the controversy? What was your take on that? Because I like Allardyce, so you know. If you don't want to answer, it's okay. I understand.
Yeah, I'd rather not. Yeah, I think that all I can comment on is the time that I've worked with Sam, and Sam was brilliant to me, and he was brilliant for me in my career, and I'm obviously eternally grateful to him for that.
Yep, definitely. On a lighter note, we have a good question from Charlie Boy, which did Matt ever tune anybody up on the pitch?
What does that mean, please? If you could put it in a language I could understand, what did Matt ever tune
Charlie Boy's from Brooklyn. He's from Brooklyn, Matt. He's got his own way of saying things. So,
okay, well, could you decipher what that means to me then, please?
Like really rough somebody up on the pitch. Or get under someone's skin like really bad, or maybe give someone a flat tire.
I'm sure I would have. Yeah, I'm sure I would have. Yeah, yeah. I think I was very vocal. Yeah, I'm sure I would have.
Yeah, when Charlie Boy comes up with us, we run subtitles because he's from Brooklyn. You gotta, So you talked about you're such a laid back guy, as we can tell now from talking to you for half an hour. But you talked about having that anger on the pitch, and Tim, it makes me think of our old friend. You know who I'm talking about. Tim used to run a little football club in Lowell, Mass, near where we live, and we had a player who was a semi-pro club. We had a player who was just the nicest guy off the pitch, but on the pitch he was terrifying. You know who I'm talking about. He was terrifying. But off the pitch, just a dad, just the sweetest guy you'd ever meet. So what do you think it is that like trips you? Because you said you were kind of an angry player, and you don't seem angry to me at all as a person. What do you think it is that trips you when you step across the line?
It was just football. Football's everything to me. And what I was going to do was I was going to fight for everything that was mine. Now those 3 points on a Saturday afternoon, I was going to fight. Would I win that fight? I don't know, but I was going to fight as hard as I possibly could, and that was fight technically. If I had to if you have to play games and in terms of gamesmanship, then that's part and parcel of any sport, I believe. So no, I was willing to do anything to win, obviously within the rules of any football game. But also it was controlling what I could. So I could control my mind state. I could control how I was, and I would never. It's only a few times. I think I lost it once against Southampton actually in the season.
Yes.
West Ham in the Championship, who got sent off.
Yes.
So trying to control that anger at times was not easy, but it was the way I played football. But then as soon as the whistle had gone, then that was it. It was kind of right back to normal Matt mode, and as you say, just being a dad and a normal person.
You were a
pitch, something.
You were a Portsmouth guy for a long time. Do you think that you got sent off against Southampton in part because it was Southampton, or was that not relevant at the time?
Maybe.
Subconsciously?
Maybe it was. Yeah, maybe it might be. It's just, so I did on a few occasions struggle to control my emotions on a football pitch, but that's because every single game meant everything to me.
Yeah.
There was never, I couldn't play a football game and not go 100%. I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
And
well, we could
probably tell. if I'm brutally honest, with you, that's probably why I had the career I had. So were there more talented players out there than me? 100%. But I was going to work hard on every single one of them. It was going to mean more to me than it meant to them. It was quite simple.
Yeah.
In my eyes, anyway.
Yeah, which is why you were on the team sheet a lot of
time. It was very simple to me.
You said something. I know, Tim, you're looking at questions. We're going to get another one up in a minute from the chat room. But Matt, you did an interview with the West Ham. I think it was the official website a couple of years ago. I was just looking at it again today, and so when you got sent off against Southampton, the referee says to you, "Matty, what have you done?" Is that what he said?
Yeah. Lee Probert. So Lee's a mate of mine, and Lee. There would have been something, Matty, what the have you done? So it wouldn't have been just, Matty, what have you done?
Yeah.
But yeah, he did say that to me, and I looked at him and I said, yeah, no, Lee, I've messed up, yeah. And he just looked at me and smiled. And he went, yeah, there's the red card, off you go.
Did you talk to referees a lot? I always wonder about this. What is the communication like between players and the ref during a game?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you got to talk to them, yeah. But yeah, I think that what you do find is that because there's a pool of referees that will predominantly referee the Premier League, if you like, you'll probably come up or you'll be officiated by a certain referee 4 or 5 times a year. So you'll get to understand them and they'll get to understand you. I mean, when I was playing, one of the best ones was Dermot Gallagher. I don't know if you guys know who that is, but Dermot Gallagher was one of the best ones because you could shout something at Dermot about not getting a decision, and his one-line witty comments were brilliant. He used to get you back. Honestly, it was fantastic. He would come back with, so I don't know, you'd say something about Dermot, you've got that decision wrong. He might come back with something like, well, you're not playing very well, are you? Concentrate on your own game. I just thought, and it brought a humour to what was quite an intense situation. But it helped that he, in my opinion, was one of the best referees the Premier League's ever had. But yeah, you do talk to the officials. I don't know what it's like in sport over there, but I think that you have a camaraderie with the officials, and you have to. And the best ones I always found gave you something back in terms of a bit of banter, which was great.
We have these fan questions are piling up. So a lot of them are actually, I mean, some of them are just fun and not necessarily on topic, but like this one, for example. Matt, are you watching any of the German league games behind closed doors?
I did. I watched one. My son and I watched Borussia Dortmund smash Schalke yesterday 4-0. Yeah. We did. We watched that game, and it's brilliant. I think it's all, obviously everything's going to take a bit of time at the moment, isn't it, for us all to understand what the new normal is. Yeah. So, but I hope that obviously the Bundesliga is leading the way, and I hope and I pray that obviously there are no new infections that maybe could scupper the Bundesliga, because even if we haven't got football back at this precise moment in time in England, it felt more like a Saturday afternoon to me, that I could sit there and watch a bit of football. It was brilliant, and it helps that Dortmund were exceptional as well.
We do have a compliment in here actually for you too. It has nothing to do with West Ham, but it says, Tim, I know this is about West Ham, but Matt scored one of the best goals in Premier League history for Portsmouth away at Sunderland. I'm like, yeah, I've seen that video. I can't tell you how many times. It is beautiful. Love a good volley, man. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was the only shot, and I've told this story quite a few times. Only shot because at the time he had no striker on the pitch because he was off injured. So yeah, and 9 times out of 10, it would have flown over the bar or not even reached the goal. But it was wonderful to see it going, especially against a mate of mine who was in goal, and Kelvin Davis as well. So that helped.
Dermot Gallagher is actually getting a lot of love in the chat room right now as well. A lot of getting respect for him. Wow, he's my favorite ref. Yeah,
I've never had a favorite ref, so I respect to you, Trevor, to Tebow for having a favorite ref to begin with.
I loved when Clattenburg was on the list to be the man, because you knew something was going to happen, or you just knew something was going to happen. All right, so Hammers Pulse asks, Sam Allardyce or Harry Redknapp? This is for you.
Oh, that's right. I played for Harry. Yeah,
he did for Portsmouth. Yeah.
Yeah. No, do you know what? It's probably they're both very, in terms of their management style, they're quite different. I think that what I will say is that you don't manage the amount of games that both of those men have without being exceptional at your job, and they've done it for decades, and they've been hugely successful at it, both of them. It'd be a difficult question to answer because I thoroughly enjoy playing for both of them.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not as if I've got bad memories from either. I've got really good memories from playing for both Sam and Harry.
They're completely different managers, really.
Yeah, and I was really lucky to have played for both of them, to be honest. And the fact that they're both English managers and they were both extremely successful, and they both had good careers as well as players. So I learnt a lot from both of them.
And ties from West Ham, yeah.
Sam was a you know, Charlie, I used to live in Brooklyn. I can understand you. I get you. I feel you. But I don't know about everybody else. I'm just curious about Sam. We talk a lot about Sam because I think some of us kind of miss him. Some don't, some do. But he could be a fun manager to play for then, because of all the words you think of to talk about Sam Allardyce, fun seems like it's kind of low on the list. There's a lot of criticism of his football.
No, do you know what Sam is and Sam was? Sam's a good man and he's an honest man, and I can only speak for me personally here. That's what I like. And if what I'm being told is the truth and maybe I don't agree with it, then fine, I'll deal with that. I've got to accept that. But I honesty is one of my big sort of traits. It's one of my, if you like, KPIs for me. It's one of the biggest things that I go by, trying to be honest. And no, Sam was exceptional at that. But he also knew the right time to have a laugh, but also the right time to be extremely sensible, because work time was always the most important thing. But what I will say about Sam is that he was extremely thorough. I mean, at the time when he was at Bolton before he went to West Ham, at the time at Bolton, I mean, he was at the forefront of sports science. He was the guy that was doing things that probably 5 or 6 years ahead of anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't do that just by chance, do you? You do that by being an expert in your job, and that's definitely what he was.
Yeah. So let's, because a lot of these fan questions are actually starting to mimic what the rapid fire was going to be. So let's wrap up your career here. So, how did your time come to a close? Really, like it's you end up signing with Burnley on a free, but how did that all come about? Yeah.
I was offered a contract extension.
You were okay.
Yeah, I was offered a contract extension for 12 months, and I wasn't. I think that at the time, what I'd have been 32, 33 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 12 months as a player, you guys will know this, it's a short career.
Yeah.
And I was at a stage in my life where I still had a younger family, obviously, than I've got now. Yeah. And I just needed a bit more stability.
That's exactly what Matt Jarvis said when we asked him the same exact question.
He said the same thing.
It said the same exact thing. He was offered a 1-year deal, and he said he needed something more long-term at that stage of his career. Yeah. Wow.
I just wanted the stability of a 2-year contract. So, and also the fact that Burnley had just been promoted into the Premier League. It was a new challenge. Yeah. The expectation was different to that at West Ham. It was at the other end of the country, which was probably the most difficult thing. But you make it work. And it was a shame for me because I left West Ham, started the season, played the first 4 games, and then
got hurt.
Near enough ruptured my Achilles. So I ended up getting injured and was out for 6 or 7 months. But that's an occupational hazard, so we can't do anything about that. I mean, I think that the human body probably isn't designed for professional sport in the way that we use it. So that's going to happen, and it was just a shame that it happened.
What goes through your mind? We asked Jack Collison this too, because he basically had his career ended by injuries. I mean, when you get the X-rays back, when you get the diagnosis, whatever the word is, what's the first thing that goes through your mind 6-7 months out? Do you think like about your career, or do you just think I got to start working again now, or what's the?
I think
what is the first thing?
So for me, it was right. What we're going to do to occupy my time, because that
like being in lockdown, right?
Yeah, but but you're so used to expending your energy, and you've got to focus from week to week. That the focus is the game at the weekend, or the focus is the game in the week, and you've got training to pad that out to get ready for the game.
Yeah.
So mentally, it's tough. I mean, probably the first time when I knew there was something wrong. I knew it because I woke up on the Sunday morning and I couldn't move. I mean, I could hardly get down the stairs. So I knew there was something wrong. And if truth be told, the surgeon that I went to see, basically, he was very frank, and he said to me, "How long have you got left in your contract, Matt?" And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, if you've got to the end of this season, I'm not going to do anything, but you can retire at the end of the season because you'd be shot." I said, "But I'll repair it if you've got longer than 12 months on a contract." I said, "But I just signed, so I had that season and one more." He said, "Well, I'll repair it." He said, "But be prepared that maybe later in life you might get arthritis and you might have issues, but it'll get you back playing." And then you think, right, okay, I've got to go and have the operation. And then the hard work starts, because you've then got to get to a point where you're playing catch up with everybody. It's tough. Jack will tell you. I mean, Jack, what a phenomenal player he was. Such a shame that he got injured so young and never quite fulfilled his potential in terms of a player. But Jack will tell you the tough times when you're in the gym and all the rest of the guys are out in the field training.
He said
that, and you're working hard. And you're not out on the field with them. You're not involved in the camaraderie. You're not involved in the talks the manager's giving.
Yes.
But what you're doing is your mental toughness means that you've got to really knuckle down in the gym and make sure that you get fit. And that's probably the hardest part of being injured, not the physical injury, because we all know, touch wood, 9 times out of 10, the human body will heal. It just might take a specific amount of time. Yeah. But it's the mental difficulty which is the real problem.
Yeah, we have, and like you said, Jack said the same exact thing. I think also Dean Ashton said that in one of his interviews I heard over the last few months, that feeling of just not being included, but you're there, you're still part of the team, but you're not there. But
but you can't do your job.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
There's one last question from the chat room before we do our rapid fire. It's kind of an easy one, but what are your thoughts on VAR? And would you have liked it when you played?
This is a big one.
I think so. So VAR, I think that the technology is not the issue, is it? It's the interpretation of VAR.
Yeah.
So it's not. So I mean, as
Operator
a football fan now, I went to watch a game earlier in the season, a Premier League game, and part of the issue for me is you've got no idea what's going on the ground. So if you guys are watching it at home, that's fine, but you don't actually know what's going on the ground. But I think we should be using it, because the amount of technology we've got now can only benefit our sport in terms of football. But it's the same as anything, isn't it? It's going to have issues. There's going to be people that like it. There's going to be people that don't. But one thing I do know is that I think it's here to stay. So we've all just got to accept it and try and make the best out of it. Because why was VAR brought in? Well, it was to try and eradicate mistakes that humans or the referees or linesmen or whoever it may be would make. Yeah. But isn't that part of the fun of the game? That we accept that a referee might make an error in judgment, he might make a mistake, but we've brought VAR in to try and help them. And I think that's what we've got to try and look at it as a tool that can actually help the referees, because you got to remember, we can't play our game. You guys can't watch our game if we don't have referees in the middle. So we've got to try and help them, because ultimately that's going to help the game of football thrive. That's the way I look at it anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where I mean, VAR is the last of my worries right now. I just want football back.
Right.
You can have all the VAR you want. I just give me football back. I did get to go back in January, and at the end of January, I saw a match, and then the 1st or 2nd of February. And at the 2nd of February was the match against Brighton, where we ended up we had a 2-0 lead, or we had 2-2 goal leads and ended up finishing 3-3. And two of the decisions were, I mean, one of them in particular was like, how did VAR get this wrong? Like, this was blatantly, you know, no goal or whatever. So, and I was there to kind of see that from that end too. But I don't know. I would take that back in a second, just as long as there's football on the pitch.
I know.
But that said, let's get into the fun part of this show, which is the rapid fire questions. You can elaborate if you choose.
Okay.
These are all West Ham related, so no worries. Except there's two that you could pretty much pick somebody from any era, you know, of your career. But you'll know when we get there. All right. So, out of the 3 years you're with the club, which was your favorite kit to put on? Like home or away or third kit, doesn't matter. Which kit did you put on?
I quite like
damn, I look great.
It would have been, I think it would have been maybe my last season. I like the white away kit
with the pinstripes.
The Adidas white away.
I love that one.
I like that one. Yeah,
I have that one. I love that one. Yeah,
I quite like that one.
Which was the one teammate at West Ham that you just loved seeing on the team sheet? Like, you loved to play with him. You knew that you had good camaraderie with him, and there was just one player like, damn, I'm so happy I'm on the team sheet with him today.
Probably Mark, because Mark was Mark. The reason I say that is because Mark gives everything. He's my type of player. He's 100%. He's 100% man, and he's a leader. So probably Mark, because I think that there's such an affinity with the fans. He's only ever played for West Ham. He's a West Ham boy through and through, and you know, he was the skipper alongside Kevin Nolan. So probably Mark. It'd be a difficult one. You got Mark, Kevin again was exceptional. I think in his time at West Ham, he was a leader. Quite a lot. There's quite a few actually. I was quite happy, pretty much being on that team sheet with anyone at that time, to be honest. I'm just more happy if I was on the team sheet.
Yeah, exactly. Ryan James, this was actually in reference to the kit question, because he actually collects game worn kits. He actually lives in Massachusetts, the same state as Lee and I, and he has one of your match worn kits from the 12-13 season, a home kit, one with the poppy on it.
Yes.
Yeah, he posted that the other day. It was really cool to see.
Brilliant.
So yeah, there you go, Ryan. All right. So who trained the hardest besides yourself, obviously, at your time at West Ham? Which one player was like, oh wow, guy's a beast, even in training?
Who trained the hardest? Probably for the time I was there, UC Jaskalainen.
Really?
UC when UC was I played with UC before at Bolton, and UC was just an absolute machine. And when I say that, I put it into context because of his age at the time. So UC had been late 30s.
Yeah.
And he just used to smash it every day. Every single day. He'd smash it in the gym, smash it on the pitch, never had a day off. Yeah, UC was really good.
Underrated keeper for us, I think.
Very underrated. You know,
highly
it's funny
underrated.
Because you were talking, Matt, earlier. You were talking about how when we got promoted, it was pretty much like the same team, and they'd all been Premier League players. But we lost Rob Green, and I was, as a supporter, especially a newer supporter of West Ham, I didn't know UC. I didn't know him, and I knew Rob Green, and I was kind of scared that we were going in without our keeper.
Yeah.
You know, and then obviously Jaskalainen did very well, and then they eventually brought in Adrian, and then UC lost his place, which kind of I got used to UC, and I was like, wow, this guy's a great keeper. What are we doing getting rid of him? And then the same thing ended up happening to Adrian. Yeah. The same thing happened to him. They kept trying to bring someone in.
It's the natural rule of football and life. That's what happens. Unfortunately, you guys as football fans will have an affinity and be with the club far longer than the majority of players, and that's just unfortunate the way football is.
Yeah. All right. So, who was the dirtiest player or player you most hated to play against?
He wasn't dirty, but the hardest opponent I ever played against was probably before my time at West Ham, and it was Gary Neville when he was playing for Manchester United. He was the hardest opponent that I ever came up against, and the reason he was so hard was because he was just so clever in terms of his defensive position. So starting position defensively, out of possession.
Yeah.
But I just remember playing against him, and he'd give you a shove at the right time. And it sounds really stupid. So the ball would be coming up to you, and you just feel a shove, and it would put you off balance. And he was a master at it. And yeah, he wasn't dirty, but he was
clever.
Most definitely. He was clever, committed, and he was the hardest opponent that I came up against. And that was when he was playing for Manchester United.
Lee, who did Jarvis say? Because I know Jack Collison said Lee Cattermole was the dirtiest player.
I thought Jarvis said Lee Cattermole, but I'd have to go back and watch again.
I think he agreed.
Because I think he agreed when you mentioned him.
Yeah, but I can't remember who he initially said.
I'd have to go back and watch it again, Tim, because I don't remember who he said either.
I think it was probably right back, as he said he played the left wing a lot. So I just can't remember the name, but I love that question just to hear the different things. But no, apparently Lee Cattermole is really dirty though. They both agree.
I think it's safe to say.
I wouldn't disagree. Yeah.
All right. So, what was the best goal that you saw a teammate score while you were on the pitch?
Best goal I ever at West Ham.
But you can honestly pick. This is one of those you can pick any time period. But as long as you were on the pitch.
I don't know. It'd be difficult. I think. I tell you what.
Or any stand up. You know.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to go back to probably, and it's going to sound slightly ironic. When I was playing at Portsmouth, we had a striker called Benjani, and Benji. We were at Portsmouth, and it's centre forward, and he hadn't scored all season. So the best goal I'd ever seen anyone score, because it was the goal that near enough kept us up, and it was the only goal he got all season. So it was probably a half volley from him. And in the context of, because it was such a big goal for him, probably wasn't the best goal it most definitely wasn't the best goal I've ever seen. But it was the context that it meant so much to him, because he hadn't scored all season, and the manager and the other players and all the fans had stuck by him. So to see him score that, I would say that was probably the best goal I've ever seen. For that reason, that it meant so much to him.
It looks like there's someone put in I don't know if he's being funny, put in a fan question here real quick. Is Kevin Phillips the strongest player you've ever seen?
I would suggest no.
I don't know what his reasoning is, but Tommy's funny. He's one of our
Tommy's a good dude. Yeah.
All right. So, did you have any superstitions as a player? Any things you had to do before a match?
I'd always put my right sock on before my left sock. I'd always put my right leg through the shorts before my left. I'd always put my right boot on. I'd always put my right shin pad on first. Yeah. My right arm had to go through my shirt. And do you know what's crazy about it is I'm left-handed.
Yeah.
So I don't know where this logic. Yeah, I don't know where this logic came from. But
Matt Jarvis is righty, and he actually said that just the opposite. He literally his answer was, I had to put my left on first.
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah. That's right. And if there was a pair of boots that I loved, I wouldn't let anybody else clean them. I'd clean them and stuff like that. Yeah, just a bit strange, really. When I think about it now, I think back on it, didn't help me play any better.
Well, maybe it did. You don't know. Right? Maybe it did. That's the thing.
Psychologically it did, but physically and technically, it obviously didn't.
Right.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where in America, anyway, American sports, superstition, especially like baseball or something
Baseball's
like that.
The worst one.
Everybody has superstitions.
Everybody.
Of all sorts of kinds. So it's kind of funny when we actually get to hear them from English footballers, because it seems common, but it's nice. So what is the weirdest thing, the strangest thing a supporter has asked you to sign autograph?
Mm-hmm. It's not past the watershed yet, is it? So.
Go ahead. You wouldn't
this
believe
is uncensored, brother.
No,
I think here you wouldn't believe. Just watch us when Gary's on sometime. It's fine.
Yeah.
Somebody has asked me to sign their chest before. Yeah. I have been asked to sign someone's forehead.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, I have been asked to sign kids' hands. Yeah, there's someone will just have a pair of boots on or trainers on, they'll take their trainer off and go, will you sign that, please?
And you oblige?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yes, yeah. Of course. You'd never say no. I mean, nobody asked me for an autograph. So the fact that anyone asked me for an autograph back then was great, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so this is the last rapid fire we have for you. It's what's your lasting impression of West Ham as a club and of the fans and how you were treated here?
Football club, brilliant. Loved it. It was a really, really fantastic time, not both in my life, but in my family's life. We found the football club to be extremely welcoming from everything in terms of what, and by that I mean probably the people that you guys would not know about. You guys wouldn't see all of the people that work behind the scenes, that make everything work. The kit men, the tea ladies, the cleaners, the cooks, all of those people. I've only got positive things to say about everybody there. Was I welcomed in? Yeah, most definitely. I was made to feel at home. As I say, I feel really proud and privileged actually to have played for West Ham and for 3 years, and to have got that promotion means that forever, and maybe this is quite slightly selfish, but forever I'll go down as being part of that team that in history got West Ham back to the Premier League, and that makes me really proud.
100%, definitely,
absolutely, no question.
I don't know if you can see, but the background image that we chose today, actually, you are jumping on top of somebody in the background. That's from that match.
I think that's Coley. I think I'm jumping on top of Carlton there. That was his goal at Wembley, was it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. That was a great day. I see Guy Demel there too. I missed that guy.
Yeah,
he was
I missed that guy too. Yeah,
he was very good.
Yeah, so I guess Irish Tommy apologizes. He actually meant Kevin Davis.
Oh God,
not Kevin Phillips.
Yeah, Kevin Davis was one of the strongest players that I had the fortune. I played with Kevin for 3.5 years.
Yeah,
and he was one of the strongest. And you know what? He was one of those players that you didn't know how good he was until he was on your team. Now you'd always play against him, and you'd go, "Oh yeah, he's good. He runs and he heads it and he scores goals." But then when he's on your team, and he's chasing for you, and he's chasing the ball that you've played, or he's scoring a goal from a ball that you've put in, you don't realise how good he is. That was what I'd say about Kevin. So yeah, Kevin Davis was most definitely one of the strongest players that I've ever played with. And he used to eat centre halves up, and that was his game. And he was exceptional at it.
Excellent. Well, listen, Matt, I cannot thank you enough for being here today and joining us.
No, thank you.
We had a great time.
You're absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic interview. Thank you so much for being here.
It was painless, right? We didn't kill you or anything like that, or ask.
No, you didn't. No, it was brilliant. Thank you. No, I really enjoyed it. It's always nice. I think that especially with what's going on at the moment, it's actually nice to talk about football and something that we all love. And that's and at the moment we can't watch, or we can't get back to playing or supporting what the teams that we love and everything. So it's nice to have an hour just to talk about football, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything you can plug or anything like that you want to share?
No.
Okay.
No, all good. No. If truth be told, Tim, I'm quite surprised that I managed to get this link on straight away, because I'm not particularly technically gifted with computers. So the fact that I've managed to get on here and get on here early, I'm quite pleased.
Yeah, and me too. Because I was scared because we've had bad luck in the past. But anyway, it was flawless today. But yet I had the technical issues before the show, which never happened. So anyway, gotta thank everybody in the chat. We were streaming simultaneously on Facebook, on YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch, and I did see people commenting and everything like that, and chatting along with each other live on those platforms. I appreciate that. Stay tuned. We'll have a show tomorrow night. As well, just AHTV and Friends, American Hammers TV and Friends show. But yeah, I got to thank everybody in the chat, and thank Matt, thank Lee for being there today. Matt and Lee, I'll talk to you real quick off the air. Give me 5 seconds, but everybody else, come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.
Thank you.